Hello, my name is Abby Maloney, and this is Invest Insights, where we interview executives who are shaping our communities today. In today's episode, I speak with Tom Harper, the Executive Vice President and Division Executive for Technology and Gaming for Wells Fargo Commercial Bank. Tom, for a commercial banker with a focus on technology and gaming, can you tell us how the pandemic has similarly affected these industries, as well as the differences and challenges that they have faced?
And they were both impacted, I would say, significantly differently. Gaming on and around mid-March in every jurisdiction that we cover, and we're largely a national practice, was shut down. So our clients were not allowed to operate. And that really didn't lighten until, I would say, the June-ish timeframe. It was jurisdiction by jurisdiction, but most of our operators were enabled to open under social distancing requirements. So that was very different than tech. The tech side of the business more or less continued moving along. Our practice is focused in, we call it late stage. So these entities have generally raised $10 to $15 million of generally VC equity. And although most of them went into a, how do we preserve more cash than we would normally like to preserve in this environment? Who knows what's going to happen? Some subsectors were more heavily impacted than others, like travel and leisure, for instance. They generally fared pretty well, and their VC partners, in the main, continued to fund them. So, two very different scenarios, but luckily, both now doing very well.
Obviously, the pandemic has had to change the way that people are planning their businesses and had to make some really drastic maneuvers. What has been the feedback from the VC community that you're watching, and how are you currently advising your clients in a time where it's so difficult to predict more than a couple days, couple months ahead of us?
Yeah, so we're doing everything we can do. We generally operate. We enjoy the operating relationships, right? And there's various ways that we can help them operate more efficiently on the banking services side. So we've been fully engaged there. It aligns with what they're doing otherwise, because they're generally in cash burn mode anyway. And what they've tried to do is extend that runway. So if it was an 18-month runway until the next raise, hopefully they've extended maybe to 2 years or 2.5 years. And we can help them do that on the operating side by helping their banking services run more efficiently. And then on the gaming side, really, that book is very different for us as a commercial bank. We do a lot of direct lending there, a lot of working capital facilities and term loan facilities to help them expand their operations. So, I would like to believe, and I know we were very supportive of those gaming clients, and we generally helped every one of them extend their liquidity by amending their credit facilities to help them.
How do programs like the Wells Fargo Innovation Incubator and the Wells Fargo Startup Accelerator enforce the commitment to helping technology-based companies?
I think both of those programs in different ways operate in a fashion that are mutually beneficial to both Wells Fargo and our clients. It enables us to get a look at what technologies are emerging, particularly in the fintech space. For a bank, a commercial bank, that's obviously important and more than just germane. So it enables us to help them develop technology that could enable us to be more efficient and more cutting edge than we could potentially be if we were to keep all that in-house and do it on our own.
How important is it for technology companies to work with financial institutions that have a dedicated technology focus?
I think it's very important. We see it every day in practice. We have 100 bankers that are specifically focused on the technology space. They understand the operating pressures that we talked about earlier in this conversation that our clients are under. They understand the need for those clients to focus on developing their software, for instance, or developing their fintech offering while allowing us to handle the banking operations. And one of the most important things that Wells Fargo can offer those clients is not only, in my opinion, top-notch product and top-notch client service, but scalability. There are a number of banks that compete in this space, and very few can offer, the breadth of service and the extent of service. We literally have started seed, and we have taken them all the way through public to, through unicorn status. So very few institutions offer that.
How do you feel the tech and gaming industries are prepared to weather the economic storm for a soft landing on the other side of this?
Yeah, again, kind of two different stories. As I mentioned, our clients are generally venture capital funded, and it will, in some measure, depend how long our COVID-19 impact lasts. But how will those operating entities function through the crisis, and how will their VC partners continue to behave? Now, as I mentioned before, we have seen the venture capital community be highly supportive of the bulk of our portfolio. I do think there's an opportunity, probably, there's always, they will go through the portfolio and they will determine which entities they want to continue to fund versus those entities that, they may step back from. So we'll keep an eye on that. And on the gaming side, like I said, our job, I think, in the interim, in the call it 3 months that the gaming operations were closed, all but, for internet gaming and online sports betting. Our job was to help them through that, make sure they help them preserve liquidity, make sure they have liquidity, and I believe we did that. It's interesting, as those gaming operations have reopened, their revenues are off potentially 30–40%, speaking generically, but their operating results are improved dramatically. Because there's been pent-up demand, and because they're not, they don't have to offer a lot of the ancillary offerings that you would offer. Food and beverage don't have to do it, entertainment don't have to do it. So the clients then have been able to operate much more efficiently and in some cases much more profitably.
You are based in the Philadelphia area. Can you compare the Philadelphia region to the rest of the nation, and how is it positioned to continue to weather the economic storm?
I think Philadelphia is very well positioned from both a tech and gaming perspective. Some of our, on the gaming side, I'll go first there since I went second there in the previous questions, tremendously strong operators with generally very strong capital structures. That combined with support from the financial community, I think they'll see through. It's been interesting. It'll in some fashion depend on what type of federal stimulus we see, if we see more. And it'll obviously depend on if we don't have another outbreak. We have had in some jurisdictions, gaming clients open and then have to close again for 2 weeks because there was an outbreak. But that's been pretty limited. On the tech side, this is a great community for technology-based companies. When you look at, and I'm biased because I grew up here, we have 100+ regional colleges and universities that graduate 13,000 STEM students every year, right? Our job has been really designed to keep those students here because it's a relatively straightforward formula. The venture capital community will go and invest where there is talent available. And you have to have a good pipeline of talent because the objective is obviously to scale. And if you can't hire people, you can't scale. So Philadelphia offers a lot from that perspective in terms of available human resource to help them scale.
Tom, we've spoken about the challenges that you've seen over the past number of months, and it is a challenging time indeed. What have these months taught you about resilience?
One, I was amazed how quickly Wells Fargo moved to an work from home environment, almost seamlessly. There were some bumps along in the beginning with bandwidth potentially, but we worked our way through that very quickly. And our human resource was incredibly resilient. And I think we're probably, a microcosm of the rest of the environment, where thankfully, we had enough infrastructure for folks to work from home, stay safe, and continue to be productive. It is, look, in our technology business, again, technology and gaming are very different. Gaming is, not growing as quickly and is probably even more consolidating, whereas technology is growing very rapidly. So the challenge for us is how do we onboard clients in this environment? And I do believe our bankers have gotten very good, and our clients have gotten very good at Zoom meetings. It doesn't feel as natural to me as a commercial banker as going to see a client, but look, everyone has learned, to operate their business in this environment, and a lot of that's been obviously, remote.
Well, thank you again. That was Tom Harper, the Executive Vice President and Division Executive for Technology and Gaming for Wells Fargo Commercial Bank. My name is Abby Maloney, and you've been watching Invest Insights. Thanks for tuning in. Hey everyone, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can stay up to date on the latest business trends from our knowledgeable experts. Be sure to check out the description below for more information on the segment you just watched. Thanks for tuning in.